Hi guys. Hello, may buntag nato. Sorry kaya nga akong kuan ba ang gigamit nga like this one dili siya headphone kinaguba akong headphone. And I'm just using my phone. Oh no. Okay wrong with you. If dili ko audible ba kay just let me know ha kay I'm just using my phone and at the same time laptop kay I can connect with my computer right now. May buntag day sa tanan, no? It's a beautiful Saturday. And now we are gathered here again today for a new day of learning. Not really learning, not because I know this is something that's not new to everybody. You already have an idea on what we are going to discuss right now, on what topics we are going to touch. I think it's more of a refresher or a review for everyone because I think most of you, if not all, already have this in senior high school. And this subject, just to let you know, is very basic. However, its simplicity and its basicity, it still needs to be mastered. It needs mastery in our part because this is the foundation of our future subjects. For example, integral calculus and, for example, differential equations. And right now in our third year, now that I'm third year already, we have numerical solutions for CE, and differential calculus really is important. You will have um, the very first part of your topics or of your subject in the higher years will be based on your foundation or your knowledge on this subject, which is differential calculus. So what I'll do is, sorry with all guys because I wasn't able to search or kung unsaon ako pag kuan gani like unsaon ako pag discuss. I also have no tablet or iPad. So just para sa na to ba nga makasuwat ko. However, what I'll do now is I will just be using my phone to record while I am writing, just so everybody can see what I'm writing. So we're pretty good number here already, and we are live on Facebook. So if your friends can attend now because they have scheduled, someone messaged me yesterday if they can attend now because then they had another schedule for class to attend to. It's okay because this will be live on Facebook and this will be on your Facebook group in the freshman. So sorry kay awkward akong set up karon guys. But I will do my best to help you guys out because I know nga kani nga pandemic lisod jud bitaw siya jud, especially kanang kita ra ba nag-study we're studying on our own, and even sa mga time gani this differential calculus it wasn't really that easy because though the concept is not new, the the difficulty increased. So I understand you guys if you really would want to learn as much as possible here in these tutorials because number one, you want to improve or master this differential calculus. So right now, we will be talking about three things. Unsa unang ko niya? First is the limits and continuity. Number two is introduction to derivatives, and number three is the derivatives of transcendental functions. So prior to this tutorial sessions, we had asked the first year students on what topics they want to cover, and they want to learn more and to refresh their minds about. And these are the things that we had, or the answers from coming from the freshmen. So I hope, or I aim personally to help you guys out as much as I can. I will do my best to help you guys. However, I'm really having a difficulty here. So here. All right. So mm, thank you, kayo Migi, for the assistance. So these are the three things that we are going to discuss today. Number one is the limits and continuity. Number two is the introduction to derivatives. And number three, the derivatives of transcendental functions. So first off, let me just ask you guys, what are your questions? I know these topics are easy na lang siguro sa inyo, ano? Kaya na tackle naman niya siya pag senior high, and it's just a matter of review and refreshment on these topics. What are the things on these topics? For example, let's start first with limits and continuity. What are the things that you find hard and that you are struggling on? Just so we can address that along the way. Just comment down or just put it on the chat box, and we will be answering them later on. So first is limits. What are your idea on limits? Limits is the value that we put, or the value that is equated when a function approaches to another value. So mo na siya ang limits. And continuity, it's like if you are to graph a certain function, unsa man siya, like kanang ang noun sa function ba is maputol, like as you write it or as you draw it on a graph. So that is continuity. And I think that those definitions are just surface level, and we are not going to dig deeper on the concept because I think that you already know those. And what we are going to do today is we will be focusing on examples just to let you guys see the variety of equations that can be given to you by your instructors during your midterm examinations. I think that's the reason why we're here. It's because we are to master these these functions, or the problem solution to these topics. So limits and continuity. There are three things. There are three types of limits. Number one is when if imo i-plug in ang value, or imo substitute ang value sa certain function, it will give you a real number as an answer. That's one. That's called the determinate form. And that's the easiest part of the limit because you don't have to manipulate the equation or the function. You just have to plug in the value. And what you get as your answer is the final answer. That's it. So, number two is the indeterminate form. What is indeterminate form limit? Indeterminate form is when you plug in the value of a function and it will give you an answer of 0 over 0 or infinity over infinity. That is what we call indeterminate form. And what we'll do on those kinds of functions or those kinds of equations, we will manipulate them in order for us to get a real number as an answer, because 0 over 0 or infinity over infinity isn't the final answer yet. And we still have to take steps to simplify further the equation to arrive at our final answer. And lastly, there is limits. And lastly, we do have limits. Where is my limits at infinity? And limits at infinity is basically going with an answer, or if we get an answer, if we plug them out, like constant over infinity, constant over zero, zero over infinity, and stuff like that. Those are limits at infinity, and we will be going to discuss about them later. So right now, I'll have a book here, and we will be using these examples to guide us. So first equation. Sorry kay blurry kayo, kurog akong kamot. Saan nang kaniyoy? Wait. Okay na ninyong inani? Or do you think I have to do something? Don't worry guys, mabawi ko sundod nga tutorials. Like, did you video ko kabawon sa ako na like pagsuwat sa Zoom? I really don't know. And I still have to learn it. But right now, let's just bear with me because I'm trying my best here. So, first example, the limit of, let's have this as example number 1. 3x as x approaches to 2. So, unsa man siya nga type of limit? It's the determinate form, right? Like if pwede ako mag-screen share. Really, if mag-screen share ko, ang magawas sa kaya nga ako ang screen and dili ko kasuwat ba. So, mao na akong nalisuran. Oh, okay. So, unsa na siya? Unsa akong gamito na pristine? Let's try daw that. And if I have to write on it right, okay, I need to use a stylus pen. Is that correct? Sige, let's try that now. All right. So let's try this. So let's have our first example. Let's write here. Oh my god, limit of 3x as x approaches to 2. So easier kay siya because you only have to plug in the value 2 to the function or to the equation to arrive at the answer, which is 6. That's our first example. So it's an easy example. Why? Because it's the indeterminate form and you don't have to manipulate the equation. You don't have to simplify it further because when you plug it in or when you substitute the value of x, it will give you a real number as an answer. So second, what about limit of 2 minus 4x as x approaches to 1? So again, in this kind of equation, we just have to plug it in just so we could arrive with the answer. So we have 2 minus 4 times 1. So limit of 2 minus 4x as x approaches to 1 is 2 minus 4. So that's negative 2. That's our final answer. Number 3 is what if we have a function that is in fraction form? Limit of 2x minus 5 over x plus 2 as x approaches to 2. So kani, if we plug it in, we will have 2 times 2 minus 5 over 2 plus 2. So that's negative 1. So that's 4 minus 5 over 4. So negative 1/4, right? Negative 1/4. So these are the types of limits that we'd want to encounter during our examinations, because it's as easy as plugging in and substituting the value to the certain function. So and we can arrive with the answer already. So mo ni ang pinakasayon. However, it will get even harder and harder as we go on, because we are still in our determinate form. And what about we encounter limits that are, indeterminate form, and kana ganing mahasa jud ang imuhang like foundation, kay not only we would want to like arrive with the simplest answer or simplest form of the equation, we cannot do that if our foundation with, for example, the trigonometric identities. We can't arrive to those answers if our foundation with those aren't that strong. So we'll arrive on that later on. So ano siya pag place? Clear. Clear. So we are done with the first type of like limit. Next is we are going to have what if we are given a function that is indeterminate of, or if we plug in the value of x as it approaches to something, we will arrive with an answer of 0 over 0, for example, or infinity over infinity. That's what we call indeterminate form, and I'm pretty sure that you guys already know that, or you have an idea on how to do that. However, let's dig deep on some examples. So first example, we have joke. Anong eraser? My God. So what if we have this limit of x squared minus 9 over 2x minus 6 as x approaches to 3. If we do direct substitution, what is the answer? If ato substitute it, so we will have 3 squared minus 9, sorry, over 2 times 3, which is 6, minus 6. The answer will be 0 over 0, right? So unsa man atong watonan na? We have to manipulate. We do have a lot of identities, or we do have a lot of things in algebra. We learn these things in algebra on how to simplify an equation to an extent that when we can cancel something and make it look simpler and easier to solve when we plug in the value of x. So kani siya, unsa may tawag na niya? It's called perfect square binomial, right? Identities na siya. So x squared, or sorry, under. So a squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b times a minus b, right? So as we can see, x squared is a perfect square and 9 is also a perfect square. So we have a or x as our a and 3 as our b. So what we do have here is x plus 3 times x minus 3 over 2x minus 6. So kani siya makancel, nanay makancel or wala pa? Wala pa, right? So we already have manipulated our numerator. What we will do is we will extract also our denominator. We will extract the 2. We have x plus 3 times x minus 3 times, and we will extract the 2. So that will leave us with x minus 3, right? So we do have x minus 3 on our numerator, and we do have x minus 3 as well on our denominator. So we have to cancel that, leaving us with x plus 3 over 2. So we have a simpler equation compared to this, like x squared minus 9 over 2x minus 6. It's way simpler, right? But it's the same. It's just the same. They're just equal. So what we'll do is we will plug in. So 3 here as x. So 3 plus 3 over 2. That's 6 over 2. So the limit of x squared minus 9 over 2x minus 6 is equal to 3. Sakto ba? Let's clear that. Next example is something that's also interesting because we have to do a lot of manipulations. One over x minus 1 over 4 over x minus 4. Also, just to let you guys know, in solving indeterminate form na mga limits, there are 3 ways to arrive to an answer, and this manipulating the equation is just one of them. And I'll just tell you guys later on what's the easier method or what's the more convenient method to arrive to an answer. However, dili siya kanang accepted sa mga midterms, for example, and okay, those are just shortcuts, and mostly mga maestra, they would want you to show your solution just to show you know the concept and you know how to arrive to an answer without having those shortcut methods. And those shortcut methods, it's called L'Hopital's rule and also the Giseliana's principle of limits, and we will be discussing that as well later. So kanisiya, limit of 1 over x minus 1/4 over x minus 4. Again, if we plug in the value 4, we will arrive with 1/4 minus 1/4, which is 0, over 4 minus 4, which is also 0. So what we are going to do is we'll simplify the numerator. Like we'll so unsa man iyang LCD. So we do have 4x, and if we simplify this, we will arrive with 4 minus x over 4x over x minus 4, right? So next step is or if we look at it, na siya more similar nga term, right? This 4 minus x and x minus 4, and if ato na pod if plug in ang 4 sa kaning equation, we'll still arrive with the same answer, 0 over 0. So we have to find a way to cancel a term or to make it simpler. So as we can see, there is a similar term, which is 4 minus x and x minus 4. What are we going to do? So we just have to so that's x minus 4. Ato ang ipagawas ang negative sign over 4x. And as you can see, since it's a division or it's in a denominator, we can just simply write it as 1 over x minus 4. Kay, i-multiply na siya nato, right? If you have questions on these technical steps, just don't be shy to ask on the comment box. So as you can see, we already have another form of the function, or the function given 1 over x minus 1 over 4 over x minus 4. And this is the new form, the negative x minus 4 over 4x times 1 over x minus 4. And since these are similar terms, we can cancel that. So if we multiply them, it will leave us with the remaining term, negative 1 over 4x. So limit as x is equal to 4. If we plug the 4 in this equation or in this function, we will arrive with an answer, negative 1 over 16. And that's our final answer. So far baka nang ang limits kay okay raman siya sa like you only need to master it. You only need to answer as much problems as you can, just so you get the hinge of every equation and familiarize the difficulty or different variety of hardness of each functions. Kay maora jud na ang problema sa limits, like how you are going to simplify the equation. And if you do that, if you already have simplified the equation, you can arrive with the answer. So that's it for the second example. Next example is, what is the limit of x over square root of x plus 4 minus 2 as x approaches 0? If we again plug in the 0 in this equation, we will arrive with 0 over 0 again and again. And what are we gonna do to simplify and to arrive at an answer that is a real number and not just 0 over 0? In these types of equations wherein we do have two terms, the two terms on the denominator. In this instance, for example, square root of x plus 4, that's one term, and the negative 2, which is the second term. What we are going to do is we are going to multiply it with its conjugate. And a conjugate, it's just the kana ganing balira ba sa operation sa kaning denominator. So we will multiply it with x plus 4 plus 2. And since ga-multiply man ta, para more mahimo siya 1 over 1 or more ta ga-multiply og 1, we'll do similarly on the numerator, x plus 4 plus 2. And later on, we will know nga nung unsa importansya sa pag multiply sa iyang conjugate. If we will multiply that, we will arrive with x square root of x plus 4 and just distribute it. Or yan na lang na to. Later na to distribute. And kani, unsa may mo gawas? We have x plus 4 minus 4. Ngano ganing giditso na nato kay perfect square ni siya if atong kung both na naon, like we have negative And that is the reason why we multiply it with our conjugate, just so mo simple ang ato ang equation and makancel ang kaning radical sign, and it will leave us with these terms. To simplify it further, we have x times x plus 4 plus 2 over, as we can see, we can just simply cancel 4 here because positive 4 minus 4 is 0, so x. And we have x on the numerator, and we also do have x at the denominator. Just cancel that, leaving us with the only function square root of x plus 4 plus 2. And we will find the limit of it as x approaches to 0. Right, so what are we going to do now? If we apply the 0 or substitute 0 to this function, unsa may mugawas? Let's try. So 0, square root of 0 plus 4, that's 4. Square root of 4 is 2 plus 2. So we will arrive at an answer. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, and that is our final answer. Next example, let's proceed with the next example. I think you already have this as an example, siguro, and next example, we have a trigonometric function for limits. Limit of sine 2x over sine x. Oh no. Over sine x. As x approaches 0. So sine of 0, man, 0 no. 0. Sine 0 is 0, and sine times 2 times 0 is 0. So it will again give us an answer of 0 over 0. So in these types of functions, trigonometric functions, katotong knowledge sa atong trigonometry in our grade 9 years or trigonometry in our senior high school days, aray na siya ma-apply and maggamit na siya. So I suggest everybody to refresh or to refamiliarize those identities because magamit siya not only in the limits, gamit siya sa tanan, from the differentiations to the derivatives of transcendental functions to the integral and the differential equations na in your higher years. So this one, as you can see, we have an identity here in our numerator. Sine 2x, if we can remember, is equal to 2 sine x cosine x. Can you remember mo ni? And we do have sine x at the bottom. So since we have sine x at the denominator and we also have sine x at the numerator, we'll have to cancel that, leaving us with 2 cosine x. So nga to ang new function already, as we simplify it, is limit of 2 cosine x as x approaches 0. And if we can remember, cosine 0 is equal to 1, right? So that's simply 2 times 1. The final answer of limit of sine 2x over sine x as x approaches 0 is equal to 2. All right, we already are done with the trigonometric, I'm so sorry, with the indeterminate form of limits. So Karon, I'll have to ask you, do you have an idea already on how to differentiate? You know, kato lang mga simple na differentiation rules. Please ko comment sa kanang like na nakaibaw, because Now I will be discussing to you about the easier methods, or as what we call it back in the days or back in my time pag first year kay. Like pang check ra siya ba sa if sakto ba kong answer. Like kabaw na mo sa pag differentiate. Bisa katong simple lang power rule. So I'll just assume nung like na mo idea, or I'll just give you also an idea on unsaon. Pero aside from simplifying the certain equation, there are also two other ways, and again the L'Hopital's rule, wherein we have to differentiate. If we are given a fraction, we have to differentiate the numerator and the denominator, and once we have already the new form of the function, we again plug in or substitute the value, and that is our final answer. As easy as that. If you know your differentiation formula or rules, okay, it will come in handy as well in your checking if sakto inyong answer sa katong pag-simplify sa inyong given function if indeterminate form siya. And we also do have the Gelasanya's principle of limits. What are we going to do in these types of principle is that we will plug in a value that is close to the given. For example, limit of something as x approaches 4. So unsa atong i-plug in? It's either 3.9999 or 4.0001. And once we get the answer, ang answer ana kay dili jud siya ang exact answer, but it is close. So imo na i-round off, and that's the given answer. So, well, we will go back to a certain example earlier, katong pinaka sayon lang para masayon ako discuss. Kay ang kaniging L'Hopital's rule, it's really easy to use, especially if fraction siya, and most sa mga indeterminate form kay fraction form jud na siya, like dapat mag-cancel kana ba. So if you want to learn more about L'Hopital's rule, there are a lot of YouTube videos, and today I'll just give you a hint or just a glimpse of what it is and how it will help you in determining the limits of functions in indeterminate form. So let's go back to the first example sa atong determinate form, katong limit of x squared minus 9 over 2x minus 6. Again, this is kuan ha kanang L'Hopital's rule. It's spelled as L'Hopital's rule. So that's the term of the rule. As x approaches to 3 man siya guro. So earlier, we have to simplify this. Atong tunga sa it, we had it as x minus 3, x plus 3, and also we simplified the denominator and extracted the 2, leaving us with 2 times x minus 3. And we canceled the x minus 3, leaving us with like x plus 3 over 2. And we had an answer of 3, and we have 3 as an answer. And we already proved that. So using L'Hopital's rule, ang rule sa L'Hopital kay we have to differentiate the numerator and we have to differentiate the denominator. So again, I'm just going to show you this para sa checking na niya, and if you have no idea or kanang dili pa mo kabaw unsaon pag differentiate, kay we will also discuss the differentiation rules later on after this limits. So ang kani limit of x squared minus 9 over 2x minus 6. So i-differentiate nato ang numerator. So ang rule sa power rule is we have to bring down the power. So that's 2 and copy x and minus 1. the power. So that will leave us as from x squared, the differential or the derivative of x squared is merely 2x. Kay, if we differentiate a constant, it will give us 0 man. So sa numerator, the differential or derivative of x squared minus 9 is only 2x. Kaya again, gi-bring down ang 2, gi-copy ang x niya, gi-minusan og 1. And it's a rule in the differentiation. And here on our denominator, how do we differentiate this? Again, we just bring down the power. So 1 times 2, that's 2. And 1 minus 1, minusan na nimog 1 ang yang power. So 1 minus 1 is 0. So that will leave us as 1. So wala na, pwede na din nimo dili i-swato ng x. So this is our new function. Limit of 2x over 2 as x approaches to 3. As you can see, there is a 2 here and 2 on the numerator. We just can simply cancel it. Therefore, if we plug in na to, ang limit niya kay 3. So easier as here, right, if you know the differentiation rule, because that's the beauty of L'Hopital's rule, the ease and the convenience of it. And if you guys can see, anong read mo? If you guys can see, similar ang answer. Fortunately, di mo gana ang mouse. Nansa na siya. So let's just use this. So similar lang answer sa, and using the L'Hopital's rule, it is easier. And the next method is the Julius principle. Oh my god. Limit of x squared minus 9 over 2x minus 6. Kunyara guys, sa magkuha sa kog battery. So I'm back. So where are we gani? We are on the Julius principle of limits. Ang premise ani nga Julius principle is that we again would want to plug in a value that is closer to the given. For example, as x approaches to 3 man siya, unsa tong i-plug in here nga duol sa 3. Since 9 man is siya, so let's just use 3.0001. That's squared minus 9 over 2 times, again, 3.0001 minus 6. So if we use our calculator, it will give us an answer of minus 9, 8 times 3, 0, 0, 0, minus 7. It will give us an answer of 3.0005. So if atong round off, it's just equal to 3. And if you can see, similar jud lang answer. Like if we use the traditional way, like the simplifying and using the cancel method, we will arrive with 3. It's the most pinakataas nga solution. Pero mo nang pangitaon jud sa mga maestra, just um, para makita ba nga nakabaw mo sa concept and how o yun sa ninyo pag arrive with an answer. However, you can also use L'Hopital's rule and the Gelasanya principle for checking na lang. Like, para makaibaw mo ba nga sakto inyong gibuhat sa kaning traditional way, ug sakto inyong answer to. You can use L'Hopital's rule and also you can use the Gelasanyas wherein you just have to plug in a certain value, and round off siya and the answer that's just similar to the answer. All right. Next is we are done with the limits on the indeterminate form. Next, we do have the limits at infinity. So, limits at infinity, it will leave us with an answer of, for example, itong constant lagi over 0, constant over infinity. And also, we will discuss later on, like we will discuss the concept or the premise of the continuity of a function. And dali na tayo, touch na to gamay. So now let's move on with the limits at infinity. Let's have this as an example. Limit of 3x squared minus 4x plus 2 over x squared plus 3x plus 1 as x approaches to positive infinity. So, if ato i-plug in, kay unsa man ang answer? Infinity sa, like wala ka infinity, it will leave us with the answer of infinity over infinity. And that is not the answer that we are looking for. We, as much as possible, would want to get a whole number or a real number as an answer. So, the premise of the limits of infinity is that we'll just have to get the variable with the highest degree and divide it into the different terms of the equation. I'm so sorry. So we have to divide both the numerator and the denominator with the term with the highest degree. For this instance, we do have x squared, diba, as our highest degree on both numerator and denominator. So what will happen there is we just have to divide it with 3x squared minus 4 plus 2. We'll divide everything on the numerator with x squared. And we'll also divide everything on the denominator with x squared. Plus 3x plus 1 over x squared. As you can see, if ato ni siya tagsa-tagsaon, like 3x squared over x squared minus 4x minus over x squared rather, or 2 over x squared, it will leave us with an answer of if kani kay 4 over negative 4 over x to the power of negative 1, since ang pinakadako ni kay ang x squared man or raised to the power of 2 man. What will happen if we plug in the value of infinity is that if it's a constant over an infinity, for example, this 2 over infinity squared, 2 over infinity, we'll have to cancel that because that will equate to 0. You have to take note nga constant over infinity is equal to 0. 0 over a constant is equal to 0. And constant over 0 is equal to infinity. Atay swati para di maglilid. Constant over infinity is equal to 0. Constant over 0 is equal to infinity. And 0 over constant is equal to 0. And in this case, since we do have constant man like 2 over x squared, it's a constant over infinity because we will be then plugging in infinity one side. So we can just cancel that term because it will only equate to 0. And similarly on this second term, it will leave us with negative 4 over x to the power of negative 1, and it will again leave us with a constant over infinity. So that also will result to 0, leaving us with this 3x squared over x squared. So makancel ang x squared ng x squared, leaving us with 3 only. And similarly, sa denominator, 1 over x squared, it's 0. 3x over x squared, 0. Makancel na, and leaving us with x squared over x squared, which is 1. So, ang final nato nga function ani or equation ani is limit of 3 over 1 as x approaches to infinity. Since wala naman tay variable, we can then have an answer as of 3. Mo na niya tong final answer. So limit of 3x squared minus 4x plus 2 over x squared plus 3x plus 1 is equal to 3. Kagets ra? So here in the limits at infinity, you can also use the Gelasanya principle. And if, di ba, if given mo kanang positive infinity, you can just plug in 99999. Like, depende na ninyo. And if negative infinity siya, you can just have it as negative 99999. And kung sa pinakaduol nga answer, you just have to round it off. And that is the answer already. So let's do that now here. So let's clear. Balik ko na to like limit as x approaches to infinity. Positive infinity man siya. So let's just use 999. 999 squared minus 4x, or I'm sorry, 4 times 999 plus 2 over 999 squared plus 3 times 999 plus 1. So if we plug it in sa tong calcu, 3 times 999 plus 2, 99 squared plus 3 times 999 plus 1. So it will leave us with an answer of 2.98 987,024. And if we recall, the answer earlier, right, is 3. We have a 3 as an answer. So nganong 2.98, if we round it off, it will just amount to 3. So since tulo raman kanay natong gigamit, and most possibly if it is a positive infinity, so dapat 999999999. So depending on how many nines you can think of, kay mo na ang positive infinity. However, we can still use 999, and pwede lagay 9. It's just that if mas gamay siya, like mas mulayo ang answer, and in this case, we do have 2.98987, which is pretty close to 3, Raman said sa. So if we round it off, it will just amount to 3, similar to what we did earlier. So that's the Giseliana's principle. Oh my God, kapaspas sa oras. So, mo na to ang basic, Jud, like, principle sa limits at infinity. You just have to divide the numerator and the denominator with the variable with the greatest degree, with the highest degree. And just remember that the notes, that the constant over infinity is equal to 0, 0 over constant is equal to 0, and constant over 0 is equal to infinity. So mara to inyong gamiton. So i-cancel lang ang katong 0 over infinity or katong 1, and mahabilin na to kay ang mga ang mga constant na lang. So in that case, we do have 3 over 1, and it amounted to 3 as our final answer. And we can also use Giseliana's principle, wherein we just have to plug in 9999 for positive infinity or negative 9999 for negative infinity. And it will arrive us with an answer that is close to the final answer. And as you can recall, we do have an answer of 2.987. We rounded off to 3 as an answer. So pretty much the same. Next, we do have continuity of a function. I don't know if this was wanted or like kanang kailangan ni sa first year. Like wala ko kabaw if appeal ni siya sa mga topics niya kung i-discuss, but I'll just touch on this like paano jud, like surface level lang. So unsa din ang continuity of a function? Ang continuity of a function is a function is continuous if the graph can be drawn without lifting the pen from the paper. Otherwise, the function is discontinuous. So if you're given a function, if imong i-graph gani, like if padayon siya or dili ka muhunong ba sa pag-graph, meaning na continuous. So that's the basic premise of a continuity of a function. Pero gani if naay point sa graph nga muhunong ka or mo stop ka and mobalin kag laing graph, that means the function is not continuous. So mawar na siya ang continuity of a function. Since alas 9 naman and basbasoy, let's just move on to differentiation. But before that, do you have any questions sa limits of a function? So wala ra may questions sa limits. Let's just recapitulate. So the limits of a function, there are 3. If it's definite, we just have to plug in the value or substitute the value, and what we'll have as an answer is the final answer already. Meaning, if we get a real number, that is the answer. And that is the beauty of the definite form limit, because we don't have to do anything and we don't have to simplify the function further. Number 2, or letter B, is the indeterminate form, which is tricky because we have to do necessary steps. Like what steps? If it will give you 0 over 0 or infinity over infinity as an answer, it is an indeterminate form, right? However, it is not the final answer yet. So we have to make adjustments or make simplification of the function, like cancellation. We have to extract certain value, and this is where the identities for example, trigonometric identities or those identities that we learned from algebra in 8th grade, we can use them para ma-simplify further ang usa ka function. And by then, we can only apply or substitute the value of x, no, if simplified na siya. And if dili na gani siya 0 over 0 or infinity over infinity ang answer, then that's your final answer. And in indeterminate form, you can also use two other methods. The other one is, the L'Hopital's rule. L'Hopital's rule is when we use differentiation. We differentiate or derive the numerator, and we also differentiate the denominator. After we differentiate both parts, or both the numerator and the denominator, it will give us a new form of function. In the case earlier, we do have 2x over 2. Monotone new form of function. And kato siya, monotone gamiton sa pag-substitute. So if we substitute the value, it will give us an answer. And the answer is just similar to the answer if we will do it the traditional way. So that's L'Hopital's rule. And lastly is the Sannias principal rule of limits. It's when we plug in a value that is close to the given x. Like, for example, if we are given as x approaches to 2, in Gelasania's principle, we are to substitute, it's either 2.0001 or 1.999999. So the answer might not be the exact answer, but we do have to round it off to come up with the best answer, or the final answer. And again, it's just for checking the Gelasanias and the L'Hopital's rule. I advise everybody to master furthermore the traditional way, the simplification and the cancellation, because ara man makabaw kung how well you are knowledgeable sa inyong foundation sa trigo, for example, of algebra. You just use the L'Hopital's of Gelasanias again for checking. And since wala my question, Guru, let's just move on to the differentiation or the derivative. Ang definition sa derivative is similar sa limits, like connected sila sa limits. However, the derivative of a function is the limit of delta y over delta x as delta x approaches 0. And if you want me to discuss it further, just tell me. However, I have little time na lang, and we still have to discuss about the transcendental function. So let's not just dive on that, because I think ging na naguro mo sa inyong teachers ana. So nana siya graph, and it will show you how or giun sa pag or giun sa siya pag come up ba with that limit of delta y over delta x as delta x approaches 0. So mo na siyang the definition of a derivative. So again, there are two ways. There is the long method. It's a 4-step rule, and we will not be discussing again that later. So ang kaning 4-step rule, it is based on the definition of the derivative or the differentiation. So katong limit of delta y over delta x as x or delta x approaches to 0, mo to ang gamiton sa long method. And if you have questions about delta method or the 4-step rule, just message me on Facebook na lang, just so I can help you. Pero if wala ra kay yeah. And also you can have this search on YouTube, Manggoro said. So again, if you have question, okay, don't just hesitate to ask me on Messenger, because I will surely answer that. So muna siyang derivative, and if we can recall with our basic calculus or pre-calculus on senior high school, we have different rules, right? Or different like function, different formulas sa pagkuha sa differential or sa derivative of a function. Number one is, i-show na lang ako eh. So these are all the formulas. Daghan kini siya, guys. And let's just focus on the most basic, or from the 1 to 9, and the few of the transcendental function. So the derivative of a constant, or the constant function rule, is 0. Wala siya dire. First is the derivative of a constant is always 0. So mo tong ganina kapag kuha na to sa L'Hopital's rule, ang derivative sa -9 is 0, so ma-cancel to siya. And the derivative of the constant multiple, ang tawag ganin niyang first is a constant multiple. So we do have c as a constant and u as our variable. So what we have to do is just copy the c and differentiate the variable. So I'll just send you guys out a copy of this, or I think you feel din ako na may copy ani yata ganin sa inyong maestra. So, and if not, if wala gani kayo, you can also search it on the internet. Daghanag ka ng formulas or basic differentiation formulas. So let's just focus on the most basic, which is, for example, the sum rule, the product rule, the constant multiple rule, the general quotient rule. And what if the quotient or the denominator has a constant numerator, and the general power rule and the square root rule? First off, let's focus on the sum rule. So the derivative of u plus v is just the derivative of u plus the derivative of v. That's the sum rule. And the product rule is the derivative of uv is just u times the derivative of v plus v, then the derivative of u. So if you want, you can search it on your phones or your laptops right there, just so we can you can be guided as we move forward. Because if ako ra istorya gani kay maglisod jud mo kanang follow, kay if maminaw ra kay libog jud siya paminawon. So we also have the constant multiple rule again. If we do have a constant and a variable, for example cv, then the derivative of that is just the constant times the derivative of v. And the general quotient rule, which is the derivative of u over v, is just v times the derivative of u minus u, the derivative of v over v squared. And if you have a constant as a numerator in your fraction function, you just have to copy the constant and turn it into negative, then derive the v. Then that's yung overall v squared na siya. So similar sa general quotient rule, mo na siyang formula sa quotient rule with constant numerators. And the general power rule sa katatong gibuhat ganina, so if un d over dx, so ang iyahang formula is we just have to bring down the n, copy the u and n minus 1, then derive dayon ang u. Mo itong gibuhat sa L'Hopital's rule. Like, this is the most gamit or most useful rule sa differentiation when it comes to solving the limits, which we did earlier. So what to power rule? We just have to bring down the power, then copy the variable, then minus 1 or subtract 1 at the power as well. And then you still have also to derive the u. And lastly, we have the square root rule. Square root rule is basically the derivative of u. So ang like derivative of square root of u over dx is equal to the derivative of u. So kung unsay sud sa radical, i-derive to nimo over 2, then copy the function. Katong unsay sud sa radical set. So 2 square root of u. Masabtan ba? Feel ako ba kung ako ang nasa inyong side kay maglibog og zabot? Pero again, just so you can be guided, you can also search the differentiation or the common rules of the differentiation of the algebraic functions. So moving forward, let's clear the drawings. We have a constant. O itong derivatives of constant. If I differentiate na to ang constant, we will come up with an answer of many comment. 0. Very good. 0 ang derivatives of constant. So that's it for the constant. And what about this? 3x. So kung ano siya, constant multiple rule. We have a constant of 3 and x as our variable. So what is our answer here? So you bring down lang ang 1, so 3, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So it will leave us with an answer of 3. Very good. I think you already have a grasp on how to answer these. Let's move on to kuan daw ka na mga mas lisod nga mga function. Or if you want guys, since limited na kayong time, alas 10 at ako to very if you have a topic that needs that you want me to discuss, you want us to review, kay just tell me kay basically I'm just refreshing everything ni balik na jud ko sa uno. And I don't think you need that. Marang sa ng mga examples. So let's have this down. Y is equal to 3x times 4/3 minus 7x times 2/3 plus 9x 1/3 minus 6. Sannias. So it's just a function. Right? If we see the function, it's just a combination of 4 terms, right? We have this first term, the second term, the third term, and the last term. So basically, ato na siya mo sa usahon. And listed man siya tanawon, libog, like overwhelming man siya tanawon sa kadaghan sa terms, pero basically the answer is just really easy. And the solution, we just have to use the power rule once again. So we have to bring down the 4/3 times 3, which is the constant, and subtract 1 to the power. So 4/3 minus 1, it's 1/3. Similarly, we have to bring down the 2/3 here. 2/3 times 7 x, then 2/3 minus 2/3 minus 1, it's negative 1/3. For our third term, we have bring down the 1/3. We have 9/3. X 1/3 over 1/3 minus 1 rather is negative 2/3. And lastly, we have a constant. So that's automatically 0. So 0 na siya. Di na copy lang. And i-simplify na lang. We have 4x to the power of 1/3 negative 14/3. And since negative ang iyahang power, we can just bring that down 1/3 plus pala siya sa. So plus 3 over x to the power of 2/3. So basically, mo na siyang answer. So next, I think, sayon ra ang kanang differentiation. We just have to follow the certain rules. And be careful lang jud along the way because kuti kay siya, dagang kay siya numbers, and most likely you being mistaken na sa kanang mga like sayop-sayop na mga small nga mga numbers, stuff like that. So next we do have composite function or the chain rule. What's ang chain rule there? So it says here that if the y depends on u and the u in turn depends on x, so it's basically a interdependent function. So ang y is dependent on u and u is dependent on x, that is when we use the chain rule or for the composite function. So to understand better, we'll have an example. For example, y is equal to 3x plus 4 to the power of 5. So unsa man ang atong u ani? So we'll have u as 3x plus 4, right? So that's basically u to the power of 5 if atong boto na unaon. And since kani siya, unsa man siya, like na siya exponent, we have to use power rule, right? We have to use power rule, so that's basically 5u, then 5 minus 1 is equal to 4, 5u to the power of 4, then we have to differentiate the u. So ato pa ni differentiate, di na nato kalimtan. So unsa may differential sa 3x plus 4? It's basically just 3. So since 4 is a constant, so it automatically becomes 0. So 3x is 3. It will give us an answer of 15. Since u is this man, is this function or these terms, so we'll have to plug it in back. 3x plus 4 to the power of 4. So mana siyang answer. So kagets ra? Next is, what if we have this? Y is equal to 2x squared plus 3. So unsa man na siya? So kung inani, it's daghang pwede buhaton. It's either we can use the itong square root, itong na square root, or we can rearrange the form of this function into, we change this the form of the function into exponent, since naman na siya 1 dira and we have 2 here, we can just have it as 2x squared plus 3 to the power of 1. Right? Pwede na nato siya buhaton. However, unsa man yung ganahan ni buhaton ani? Let's make use daw of kanang katong square root nga rule. So unsa kitong square root nga rule, we just have to differentiate the u. Again, we'll have this as a u. Kung unsay sud sa radical, we'll have that as a u. So unsa may differential ani? So we have 4x plus, again, constant is automatically 0 over 2 to the power of, or square root of 2x squared plus 3. So mo na siyang differential. We just have to cancel this. Ang mabili na lang kay 2x over square root of 2x squared plus 3. So to further understand about the chain rule, let's use this. And again, we have to use this as a u. and use the formula of the power rule. So 1/2, we have to atong ibalhin or bring down the 1/2. Then -1 man siya. So that's u to the power of -1/2, right? And we have to differentiate, di na nato kalimtan, ang kani nga function. So what's the differential of 2x squared plus 3? Again, that's 4x. If we simplify it further, we do have 4x over 2 times u to the power of 1/2, or -1/2 rather. So 4 over 2 is just 2. So we do have 2x u to the power of -1/2. Again, if ninanagay, if negative ang yung exponent, we can just have it as a denominator para mapositive siya. So what will happen is 2x over u to the power of 1/2 na siya. So if we plug it back in, katong u na to, we have 2x squared plus 3 to the power of 1/2. It's just similar. We will come up with an answer of 2x over square root of 2x squared plus 3. Similar ra niya. So next, let's have this now, a more complicated function. Y is equal to x squared square root of 3x minus 5. So unsa man siya? We will use the product rule, and we will also integrate product rule and the square root rule here because naman tayo radical. Unsa itong product rule? We have to u the differential of v plus v times the differential of u. So more na siya. So let's have x squared as our u and this square root of 3x minus 5 as our v. So let's u the differential of v plus v the differential of u. So differential of v, unsa differential of v, using the square root rule, we do have 3x over 2 square root of 3x minus 5. I hope you follow. I was just using the square root rule, katong the differential of the u, or ang sud sa radical, over 2 square root of 3x minus 5. So since ang differential sa u is 3 ra din siya day, or 3 ra din. So that is the differential of this function or this term. Then we just have to multiply the u. So we have x squared. And then for our second term, we differentiate the u. That's 2x, and simply copy this 3x. That's 3x minus 5. So if we simplify it further, we have 3x squared over 2x, or 2 square root of 3x minus 5 plus 2x square root of 3x minus 5. So ato na siyang iusa. Like, how do we do that? We'll use the LCD, which is the 3x minus 5. 2 square root of 3x minus 5 divided by this is 1, and we'll just have to copy the 3x squared. And 2 square root of 3x minus 5 divided by 1, that's the same, and we just have to multiply it here. So we'll have an answer as 4x times 3x minus 5. Right? Okay, if multiply nimo ang radical of radical, matangtang na siya. So it will leave us with the what's inside, which is the 3x minus 5. And to simplify further, multiply na siya, like 7x, we have 3x squared plus 7x squared minus 20x. And we'll have an answer of joke 12x din 12x din 12x squared minus 20x, then 2 squared of 3x minus 2. So that's it. Pwede na namin simplify 15x squared, leaving us with an answer of 15x squared minus 20x over 2 squared of 3x minus 5. So next. So na implicit functions. However, I don't think if discussing siya kay what siya na after the topics ni ipa discuss na natin. So let's just skip implicit functions and move on to transcendental. Okay, we only have 30 minutes na lang or less than 30 minutes. Transcendental. So transcendental functions, it includes those trigonometric functions, the inverse trigonometric functions. So i-search lang ninyo daan kato mga identities. Nakoy question ba, since these topics are just told to me or said to me na i-discuss, and I can see nga napay mga na skipan nga mga topics like maxima minima, like na discuss na ninyo or okay ra man na nila nga topics like rate of change of problems, slope, tangent, normal, and angle between curves, velocity and acceleration problems. So I guess if you want me to also to discuss them further, just tell me, and I can allot 1 hour of my Sunday time for tutoring. One akong like commitment due this pandemic or quarantine time. I have to allot 1 hour. I want to allot 1 hour of my Sunday or Saturday for my weekends to help my fellow technologians. So if you want me to discuss it on another tutorial sessions, okay, just tell me. So let's move on to the derivatives of transcendental functions. Since we have less than 30 minutes lang, we just have to discuss about the trigonometric functions. So there are 6 formulas on the trigonometric functions. We have the sine u, the cosine u, the tangent u, the cotangent u, the secant u, and the cosecant u. So, ang i-remember ani, like if mag-start siya og C, for example, cosine u, cotangent u, so ang iyahang differential, it's negative yun. And otherwise, positive na siya. For example, the derivative of sine u, since it's sine, it doesn't start with C, positive siya. Ang iyahang, differential is just cosine u. And the derivative or the differential of cosine u, it's negative sine u. The derivative of tangent u, it's just secant squared u, du over dx. Then the derivative of cotangent u, it's negative cosecant squared u, du dx. And for the secant u, we have sec u tan u, du dx. And for the cosecant u, we have the cosecant u or the negative cosecant u, cotangent u, du dx. So, narin na list sa mga formula, just search it up, or if you already have it, just use it as a guide here. So let's start with this function. Cosine x squared plus 9. That's 9. That's 9. So if we have this, y is equal to cosine x squared plus 9. Once I get the derivatives of cosine, it's negative sine, right? So if we derive that, we'll arrive with negative sine u, which happens to be x squared plus 9. And dili dapat nato kalimtan ang u. Since u man is siya, we still have to derive or differentiate what's inside here. So unsa may differential ani niya. So that's basically 2x. So the derivative or the differential of y cosine x squared plus 9 rather is just simply negative 2x sine x squared plus 9. So muna na siya for our first example. Very easy. Next one is, what about if we have, this? Y is equal to cosecant of pi over x. If we recall, cosecant or ang cosecant kay negative, or the derivative of cosecant is negative cosecant u, cotangent u, then you derive what's u dx. So in this case, we have pi over x as our u, that's pi over x. So we just have to copy that, negative cosecant pi over x, cotangent pi over x. Since ato pa man i-differentiate ang atong u, unsa may differential sa pi over x. So pi, it's just a constant number. It has a value on it, like it's 3.14, right? If we recall. So we have to use the quotient rule with constant numerator. So unsa man to? We have to have our numerator as negative lang. Then we have to square the denominator. So again, if it's a constant numerator, we have to negative na lang, negative ang numerator and square ang denominator. So the derivative of pi over x is merely negative pi over x squared. So we multiply also that here, pi negative pi over x squared. So if atong simplify, we have negative of negative, we have positive. So that's pi over x squared cosecant pi over x cotangent pi over x. So that is our final answer. That is the differential of cosecant pi over x. So far, do you have any question? So none. Let's just make this quick. Next is what about this one? Y is equal to tangent square root of 3x plus 4. So tangent 3x plus 4, if we recall the formula for the tangent function, so the differential of a tangent function is just sec squared secant squared u times du dx. So that's secant squared u du over dx. In this case, we have this square root of 3x plus 4 as our u. And if we differentiate this 3x plus 4, we just have to use the square root rule. So the square root rule, we have to differentiate what's inside. So that's 3 over 2 square root of 3x plus 4. And that is the differential. So muna ng du dx. I-copy na lang. So that's 3 secant square root of 3x plus 4 over 2 square root of 3x plus 4. So muna siyang answer, final answer. Next, let's have this now. Like y is equal to x squared secant 2x. So unsa man siya, we do have two terms. First is the x squared, and the second one is the secant 2x. Unsa to atong button, we have to use the power rule since these are two terms in a multiplier. So power rule again is u dv over dx plus v du over dx. So let's have this as u and this as v. So u, copy this x squared, and the differential of secant 2x. Kasi itong secant 2x, it's just sec u tan u du dx. So sec u sec 2x tan 2x, then du dx. So unsa man ang du dx here? So we have u as this, 2x as u. So ang iyang differential is just 2. So we multiply lang na siya dira. And then we have the second term. We differentiate the first one, the x squared, so that's 2x. Then copy the second 2x. So it will leave us with an answer of 2x squared sec 2x tan 2x. And if you can see, we do have similar terms here. We have 2x sec 2x, and we also have 2x sec 2x if we distribute that. So on that button, we'll just have to extract those 2x sec 2x and multiply that with, kung saan may mabilin, we have x tan 2x plus 1. Actually, pwede naman siya ma-answer, pero as much as possible, we would want our answer to be as simple as possible. So this is our final answer. Oh, no. This is our final answer. So next is let's have this now. This y is equal to cotangent 4 minus. So here we will use power formula and the formula for cotangent. So unsa man ang power formula? So we'll have cotangent u as our u. So we have u to the power of 4 times du over dx, right? So if atong kanon, the power rule, we use power rule, it will leave us with 4 cotangent 3, 4 minus x squared. And since atong u is cotangent 4 minus x squared, or we still have to differentiate that as well. So we will multiply that with the differential of cotangent. So itong cotangent is negative cotangent u cosecant u du dx. So we'll have that as negative cotangent oh, I'm so sorry. Kuanday ang cotangent di is negative cosecant u. No, negative cosecant squared u de. Negative cosecant squared u. So let's erase that. Again, ang differential sa cotangent is negative cosecant squared u. So that's 4 minus x squared. Right? And we still have also to differentiate the negative x squared. That's negative 2x. And if we multiply everything, or if we simplify everything, we'll have an answer of 8x cosecant squared, this one cosecant squared, cosecant squared 4 minus x squared, then this one cotangent to the power of 3 minus 4 minus x squared. So this is our final answer. So that's basically it. Since we only have 10 minutes, we will allot that for question and answer. And if you do have questions or clarifications, or if you want me to further discuss about a topic that you would want me to discuss, just let me know, because I'd gladly help you with that. And for the next session, we will have chemistry, and it will be discussed by an alumna of CIT from the chemical engineering department before. She is already a graduate. So if you want to also to join the tutorial session, you can stay with this link, because Ate Aura or Ate Aura Christine will be joining us later on. So now, since we only have 10 minutes na lang, do you have any questions, guys? I thought bitaw nga 2 hours is too long ba? Kay, just to be honest with you guys, I wasn't prepared. Really, kanang wag ko kabawon sa akong gamiton as a medium. Thank you kayo, Christine, for letting me know nga pwede din mag-share screen there and use the word. So I think that's basically it. Just to recapitulate for the differentiation. The meaning of a derivative is the limit of delta y over delta x as delta x approaches to 0. That is a definition. And from that definition, we can use the four-step rule to to get to the differential or to the derivative of a certain function. However, it's a lengthy process. It's an inconvenient process. So that's why we do have um, rules or certain formulas for a certain type of function. And you just have to follow basically those rules and just stick with it, and you'll arrive with an answer. And if you have any questions about a certain topic, or kung na kay function nga ganan ipa-answer kay, again, just let me know or just message me on message. So I think that would be all, guys, about for our tutorial session today. We do have an evaluation sa DI. We do have an evaluation form. It will be given. It will be posted in your Facebook group page. I hope na you will help us improve our service to you by answering a few questions lang, few evaluation questions. So again, thank you so much everyone for listening. Thank you so much for taking your time. I hope you did learn with me, because it really was a humbling experience, just to take take this refresher, take this as tutorial session as a refresher for me. And I hope na naramay nakatunan, guys, and I hope na if you have any question, you will not hesitate to message or connect with me on Facebook. Thank you, guys, and have a blessed day. You're welcome, guys. Salamat sa guys sa inyong time, guys.